Welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Happy Hour. Mike, what's up, dude?
We have round 2.
Finally.
And this is going to just absolutely go off the rails. So we're going to try to sustain an hour, and we'll see what happens.
We've grown like 1 subscriber since you were on here last time, and we lost a bunch since you were on here last time, probably because of you. But do you want to tell? Can you tell
Did
everybody?
You really?
No.
Because I was just gonna say, I'm like, if you guys didn't lose them before, you're gonna lose them now.
Can you?
For sure.
Can you introduce yourself to everybody? Everybody that's new here.
Everyone that's new here, all 3 of you. I am Tom Cavanagh. I am the graphic designer that they roped into helping them do all their design stuff. And that's about it.
Yeah.
I think you do everything for us outside of taking our photos and editing them.
That's next on the list.
Correct. Yeah. I'm so glad you're here because from the last time you were on...
We got a list of things to talk about.
Yeah.
In a sense, but from the last time you were on to now, there's been some world events that occurred, which we'll breeze over.
Which we want to get your input on all of them.
When was
Just
I here?
kidding.
It was...
Our 52nd episode, right?
Yeah.
Which was
52nd?
when? Because it was
a year ago
mid-panny,
at this point. Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a year ago at this point, so probably August or July of last year.
Okay, so we're ballpark a full year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that, your work has just basically morphed into a whole different world that I don't even know if you expected it to do that.
Oh, no.
Okay, so let's start there in the graphic designer world, because all joking aside, we do have a lot of random people from different states that do listen and probably haven't seen the first round with us. And if you haven't, definitely go back and watch it because, first of all, it's hysterical. But second, you can kind of get the pre to mid panny, that's short for pandemic, experience of our special guest here today.
Yeah, normally we don't like to talk about the pandemic, but you've evolved so much over the pandemic just because of your situation. So, like, this is the one time that I do want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
Well, we don't like to talk about it
It's
because...
like Fight Club, but you
yeah,
can't talk
basically.
about it.
We don't like to talk about it because if someone goes back and watches an interview of a small business, they don't want to be reminded of the pandemic every time that they watch it. So every time you watch Main Street Ice Cream, you don't want to be depressed because you lost everything that year, you know? So with you, people won't be watching this, so we want to talk about the pandemic.
Yeah, if you go back and you watch the first interview, you're just going to have absolutely no value added at all, except it might be mildly funny to watch me have no clue what's happening.
Yeah, with our tasting notes. That was the best. But anyway, sorry, back to on track.
So last year, I had been furloughed from my job, my full-time 9-to-5 job, which was difficult, and I had never been unemployed before. So after a couple months of sitting in a pool, collecting unemployment like everyone else was, I got really bored and messaged Resurgence and messaged a couple other breweries, and they hit me back eventually. And, you know, most people, when I would hit up businesses pre-pandemic and say, hey, do you need help with anything? They would just say, sure, we do. And then they never get back to me. But Resurgence was super nice, and they got back to me and gave me a shot. So I started working with them in about August. And fast forward to now, that has gone completely, like, out of control.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically taking lemons and making lemonade.
Hold on, last year, during your interview, you didn't work with Resurgence?
I had just started.
Oh, okay.
I had just started.
Damn.
I think I had just reached out to them. So it's kind of crazy because I had just talked to Resurgence a few weeks ago. I was there for a meeting, and we were kind of reviewing, like, the year in review, things that we had done. I mean, I've done, if I was to ballpark, between the craft beer industry that I work with in Buffalo, I've probably done about 150 to almost 200 cans, which is crazy.
That's
considering
wild.
the fact that I did three-ish cans by the time I was on the podcast last year.
So when you say that, you're talking 300 is, ballpark number, different labels, meaning different cans.
Different cans, different breweries. So to date, I work with Resurgence is a majority of what I do, but also West Shore Brewing Company, Rusty Nickel, that one's new. in West Seneca, and Steelbound in Elkville. That's a new addition as well. Sato Brew Pub is another new. They're just starting to work on cans. Those are not released yet, but it has First Line Brewing Company too. I can't forget them.
Right.
And we're going to be helping Breyer Brothers once they start opening their doors soon, hopefully in the next year or two. So it has absolutely gone crazy with going from absolutely nothing to crazy amount of cans where I'm doing 2 to 3 cans a week, if not more.
I just can't fathom, because it's very similar to like a tattoo artist, but I don't think, well, I know I can't. I feel like I can speak for you on this one specific point. If we were to sit down and come up with 300 different designs for a beer can based off of some feedback that the quote-unquote client provides, I would just melt and my brain would explode. Like I can't fathom that.
You and I aren't creative, though.
God, no.
It's tough. I mean, it's honestly, like, there's been points where, I mean, it's like trying to wring out a dry sponge. Like when now that I'm back at my full-time job, that's my 9 to 5, if not longer, and then I work nights, weekends, mornings, whenever, to get all the other workload done so that everyone gets all their cans or whatever else, artwork, t-shirt designs, social media posts. Like, they come to me for whatever because I give them what they want. I'm usually fairly easy to work with. I'm still, like, I'm close enough with all of these people that and they know who I am and like how I operate, that if they say, hey, we want to do this one thing and it's not the best idea, I'm still going to shoot straight and be like, that's kind of dumb. And everybody knows my personality, that I'm just going to cut the corner because I can do the stupid thing you asked for, and if it looks dumb, you're going to say, that looks dumb. But we wasted 8 hours of my time and 8 hours of your time that you could be brewing or printing or whatever the hell you're doing.
Do you ever have a creator burnout? Like where you just sit there and you're just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
100% all the time.
How do you refresh it?
Yeah.
Drink? Because a lot of, on a serious note, a lot of artists use hallucinogenics or some type of drugs.
None of that.
That's what I'm saying. So you're stone sober.
Don't tell my wife.
Yeah, like you're stone sober coming up with these insane ideas. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't think I'll ever understand it. Even if you tell us, like, oh, I sit down and meditate for 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden I fall asleep, and then something happens in my dreams. Like, nothing.
There's no time for that. There's absolutely no time for that. There's no time to, like, meditate or take naps or... it's all...
Use grind.
Seriously. I mean, because sometimes that works. Sometimes just, like, forcing through works. But it's definitely tough. Cranking it all out.
So ideas just come to you when you have a couple drinks, or do you have to be watching something or scrolling through social media and then get ideas from that way?
I'd say, so, like, let's say, like, 75% of the time, the brewery or whoever's working with me, they come to me with an idea or a loose idea, and most of it's around the beer name. Like Resurgence, they'll come to me with their funny or kind of off-the-wall beer name, and then if they have a visual idea, they'll tell me. If they don't, they'll say, do what the hell you want to do. And those are sometimes the best ones, but they're also the most difficult because then I have to just pull something out of nowhere. And I have like a large like Instagram saved thing and a Pinterest board and whatever to just jog creativity as I go. And I don't know. So I've just been doing it that I'm just psychotic. I just keep doing it and stuff comes out cool, and some cans are better than others. Some are great, some are not that great.
Does music help?
Yeah. I watch TV. That's kind of my thing, is when I'm working too much and my wife is mad that I'm working so much. She's like, you're always working. I'm like, well, I could either make money watching Netflix or I can watch Netflix and not make money. So let's do the other one.
Right.
So there's a couple cans that you designed recently where you didn't have a graphic to go off of, and I want to bring this up because it's so funny.
I'm scared. I don't remember where this is going.
Well, there's a couple cans. One of them is the boxer.
Oh, my God.
One of them was a woman or something like that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so...
Oh, man.
So when you have to draw people...
I'm already sweating.
When you have to draw people, how do you do it?
Well, a couple things. I use Adobe Stock, which is a stock photo website, to try to get images or reference images for drawing people. A lot of the times I need to do like an oddly specific pose that is not available out there, so I use myself or I use Nicole, and I take weird pictures, and things happen all the time. For instance, I did a can for Resurgence called Punch Up that they wanted a boxer, and I had the idea to do an old school. This was one of those ideas. They came to me with a first idea, and I said, I think it would be cooler to do like an old school, like neo-traditional tattoo boxing poster. They're like, cool, do it. We don't want to talk to you anymore. Just shut up and do the can. So I start drawing it, and I can't find a reference image. Everybody that you find online is like, they've got their hands down here, and I wanted a person punching up, like the title. Couldn't find it, so I take an extremely, extremely humbling shirtless selfie of myself and draw from that. Obviously, add a bunch more muscles.
Yeah, gotta put abs in there.
Gotta put abs in there, a bunch of stuff. The beer doesn't help, but do it, love it, think it's awesome, send it to Resurgence. They're like, looks great. Then about a couple days later, they come back to me and say, hey, we ran it by some people, and they think it looks like the least athletic punch that anyone's ever thrown ever. And I was like, hey, fuck you, dude, that's me.
Oh my!
I'm the model.
Did you tell him that?
Yeah.
What'd they say?
He was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So now he's afraid. Now he's afraid for whenever like something comes through, and he's like, hey, what'd you use for the model for this one? I'm like, Shutterstock. And he's like, okay, well, that one sucks. So as long as he knows it's not me. But there was another one.
My wife, guy. What do you got to say now? Like,
I released literally just today, the day that we're recording this, Resurgence released Run by Fruiting, the Mrs. Doubtfire loosely related sour. And same thing. I had Nicole put on a dress. I was like, I can't find anyone doing the pose of Robin Williams in the movie. So I go into Nicole's closet, pick out a dress, and I was like, here, I need you to put this on, and I need you to act like the movie. She comes out, and she is throwing a fake tennis ball, like also the least athletic throw, like she's shot putting. I'm like, that's not, what are you doing? And I was like, give me the dress. And she's like, really? I'm like, yes. So those photos have been burned, but I had to use myself as the...
I'm all about this.
As the model. I've also sent and accidentally forwarded a photo of myself taking another drinking photo to Resurgence. I was like, oh, whoops, that was a template photo. It's just me with my cat, and I'm posing for another beer that I had to draw. Like, whoops.
That's awesome. So this Mrs. Doubtfire one, what do you have to like toe a line between like not doing copyright or anything like that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we always got to try not to get sued.
Yeah,
because
I feel like that's the name of the game.
Yeah, everybody does like kind of parody things, and it's just try not to directly rip logos or direct imagery. That's why it's like if I use my own photo, it's fine. Mm-hmm. As long as we're not using direct imagery from the movie or anything like that, we're okay.
Interesting.
That's wild, trying to fathom where that line sits. Just because it's been 2021 years, so, I mean, how much originality are you really going to come up with at this point? Everything, I feel like, has been done
I don't
to
even know
some
how
degree.
It's possible because of the quantity that I've done on my own, and I have to run into this all the time. So every brewery across the entire United States and world that does, they crank out, Resurgence alone, they crank out, I don't know, eight beers a month at minimum.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So you messaged Resurgence at the start of the pandemic, and you got that gig. The other breweries that you've worked with since then, has that been you reaching out to them to get more work because you were still bored, or was that them coming to you again to try to find you now that they knew that you worked with Resurgence?
Little of both. I messaged First Line right around the same time because they were just opening or just about to open during the pandemic. Crazy time to open a brewery, but good for those guys. And Rusty Nickel reached out to me based on their relationship with West Shore, because at this time I was before I got my job back, I was working full time doing beer stuff.
You're like freelancing.
Yeah, it was crazy. So there was a full time workload of cans. So it's been a little of both.
Have you ever had a conflict of interest between breweries where they're like, oh, we asked you already to do a blueberry beer, and now you're working with them for a blueberry beer or something like that?
No, it's funny.
No.
I always have to shut my mouth because, like, everyone's so nice. Everyone's been so like great to me, and they've each brewery and each person that I have contact with have their own personalities, and they do things a different way. So I'm always trying to be respectful of like what they do and what's best for their brewery. So if one brewery's doing a blueberry beer and I've already done the can for it, I'm not telling the next brewery,
Gotcha.
hey, they're also doing a blueberry beer. I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to do, like, I always have to try to make sure that I'm doing totally different illustration styles, which is tough. Illustration styles across each brewery so that if you see it on a shelf, you're not, like, from the front, it looks like a Resurgence cans, but it ends up being a first line can. Those are things that are kind of tough, but we've made it so that each label has their own distinct look, their own distinct fonts, their own distinct colors, and all that stuff.
Is that difficult for you because you have a style yourself when you design this stuff, right? Like when you go to Resurgence, I feel like just knowing you personally, you have more of a style and a creative mind that mirrors with Resurgence, I feel like. And when you're going to something like First Line maybe or Rusty Nickel, it's not necessarily your style, but you make it work. So how do you do that?
It's kind of refreshing to like, because if I do, that's where you have creative burnout. If if I do all the exact same style across however many breweries, I am 100% going to burn out way faster. But if I get to do something totally different and turn off one side of my brain and do something different, like Rusty Nickel, they use more of a pen and ink style illustration in their cans. So sometimes I have to, find different assets to put on their cans or use a totally different style. It's difficult, but it works, and it all kind of comes together.
Are there certain breweries out there in the Buffalo area that haven't reached out to you and you're like, why haven't you reached out yet?
No, I mean, absolutely not.
Really?
I am so tapped out. I am so like, if I take on another brewery, I think my wife, I think I'm going to end up on 2020. I think she's going to hurt me. This is a note to everyone that she will hurt me.
Yeah, this is the recording, so we have it as evidence.
Yes, I'll be at the bottom of Cass Creek or something.
Yeah, it's a future Forensic Files episode.
I'm sure she's going to love this conversation.
So how does, in regards to products that you work with, a lot of it is beer heavy, like 95% beer. Mm-hmm. So when we ask you for things, does that kind of like center you or bring you back into a different world where you can shut off your side of the brain just because you're focused on a different glass?
Depends on how sad I am that day. Some days are good days. Some days are not. And if you ask me when I've already had like 11 text messages from different people that say, hey, I've totally forgot about this, but I need this can tomorrow, then I might cry a little bit and then do your label. But I mean, you guys had a different timeline on your label, which was 11 months ago.
Yeah, we're also like extremely type A, where we're like, hey, so we're doing this, but we need a label in like 4 to 5 months. Is that okay? And you're like, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
like,
really.
Thank goodness you're giving me that much time, because then I can actually like prioritize. You know what I mean? So speaking of, how is that process? Are you able to prioritize between, is it all just like first come, first serve? Or are there like emergencies that come in, like you were saying with, hey, I need this in a day?
So there's always emergencies. I try to prioritize. Like I had to get an app where I say, okay, here's all the different companies I work with. Here's their project list. Here's the upcoming cans. Here's like whatever. And then like any other, because there are side projects that are not beer that come in every once in a while that I have to do and jam in. But it never fails. Once a week, somebody comes in and goes, holy shit, we forgot. We have this run that we never told you about, and we need it now. I'm like, now? Like, yep, right now. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's just, I've gotten very good at being fast at designing. So it's like, all right, I'm going to need to crank out this really, really quick illustration and throw type together, and here you go. And they get what they want. Mm-hmm. For the most part, people are pretty happy. Like, you guys were incredible with the label. It was like I did the label and you're like, That's good.
That's how it was with the shirts, right? You just threw out the slogan of the shirt that Mike's wearing.
That one was Tom got drunk and was just like, what if we said whiskey makes it better on the front of the shirts? Because you came up with some dumb tagline. I was like, that's another example. I'm like, dude, that sucks.
Well, even today, the other day, we asked you about creating a graphic for us for our tasting events that we want to start doing. And you just threw down some hilarious bullet points at first, but you came back and like helped us out because again, we're not creative whatsoever.
No, and it was funny.
We need all the help that we can get.
Derek sent it to me. He's like, thoughts? And I was like, can we not change it? My response literally was perfect. And then I was like, okay, I can't.
Yeah, all right.
We have to change it, but I don't want to.
You might get some clients that way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So when you first started this, what was your first reaction when you saw somebody like drinking a beer that had your design on it? Were you excited or were you just like, thank God it's out there?
Did you, also, in addition to that, did you want to walk up to them and be like, by the way, I designed that? Or did you did you not? You must have felt that way.
It is definitely really cool. Like in general, like seeing anything that you do out in public is kind of cool. I've been like that since I've been a designer, but it's way more public now because
it's resurgence.
Well, that and everybody. It's like if I walk into consumers, like my neighborhood consumers, it's like 2 blocks from my house. Like I do feel like a celebrity sometimes because I walk in and I'll just grab the thing that I designed because I'm a homer and I'll buy the thing that I designed. And then the kid at the counter is like, that beer is really good, whatever. Like every once in a while he'll say like, oh, I really like that can, because the kids at consumers are like, they can't drink, but they're like, I like this can. And I was like, I know you're drinking it, you liar. And I'm like, I designed this. And they're like, oh, really? And I like, for like a split second, I feel cool. And I'm like, all right, I need to stop this. I need to stop. But it like, people come up to me, like people that I know, they'll say, hey, like we saw your stuff on Instagram, because my Instagram account has kind of blown up a little bit since the whole beer thing. Like,
you don't got to rub that in. We'll just keep going.
You guys have more followers than me now, but it's fine. But it was like people that I run into now that like we're back in like seeing humans again. Like they'll say, hey, like we saw your stuff, we love it so much, or like so and so my friend follows you, and like they're always like. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because I never had that before. Like, people would look at my design stuff and be like, cool designs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't care about the stupid thing that I was doing previously. But now it's something relevant to, like, you can go into Resurgent, or you can go into Resurgent, you can go to Consumers, you can go to Wegmans and see the stuff that I made and buy it and be like, oh, I know the guy that did that.
Yeah. So, kind of speaking on that, before you got into beers, you were doing really whatever came across your table for freelance. Now, you, especially during the pandemic, you didn't really have time, and now that you're back to work, you really don't have time. So are you still taking on new people that want design stuff, or are you kind of just like, get out of my way, I have way too much to do?
I'm a masochist, so I'll take whatever, unless it's something really stupid. Sorry.
Define really stupid.
Sorry to the people that I've turned away.
Yeah, don't be specific about it, but what wouldn't you do?
I don't know. There's just some things that either the person
Whiskey companies.
No, it's just like sometimes the only thing that's always a turnoff is when the person comes to me and the first question is, how much do you charge?
Sure.
That's like my biggest turnoff to it. You would never ask you probably would, but you'd never ask a tattoo artist, like, that's their first question. You go to that tattoo artist because you like their work and you want it on your body forever. You come to me because you're running a company and you want my designs to represent your company. If you're concerned about money, you can go on Fiverr and go get a logo or whatever for $5. Like, that's fine. You go get a website, for cheap. You can go to those people and do it. Like, I'm never going to stop you. I'm never going to beg you. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has anybody asked you, between like friends and family, or potentially like a client that asked you on the side for like his personal stuff, to design a tattoo for them? And then you said no because you're like I'm not a tattoo artist, and I don't even know how that, like, my design would translate to a tattoo.
All the time. Yeah.
Okay.
People definitely have asked me. I mean, since I was in art college, they'll be like, "Can you draw this for me? We like how you draw." And it's like, yeah, I'm flattered, thank you, but like, go find an artist that does cool stuff and go to them. Like, because if you came to me with a design and said, make this a vector for my company, like if you came to me with your logo and it was drawn in like a JPEG format, like just on a, I don't know, something, I'm talking things that people don't care about, but if you came to me with your logo pre-existing and said, just make this logo, make it exactly the way it is, I'd be like, no.
Right.
Why? Because I'm going to do it differently. Hopefully better. So I would never do
that's
that
also
to someone
interesting
else.
because it's like, why would you reinvent the wheel? Like, you're a graphic designer. Like, you would come up with something original. You know what I mean?
Would you ever approach a business and be like, listen, your logo sucks. And
Oh, I
we
did
need to
that
change your
all the
marketing."
time.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started with design, like right out of college, because no one would give you, it's like that whole like,
You got to break in.
yeah, when everyone says like, well, you need experience. I was like, well, how the hell do I get experience if no one will give me experience? So I did a lot of like going to random businesses. I was working as a salesperson for a newspaper company, and I would go to random businesses with that sales company, and they'd say, I don't have a logo, I don't have whatever, or I did have a logo, and I would say, hey, kind of blows, like it's not great at, and like, what if you, or I still do this to this day, is I'll just not tell them, and I'll do something different and present it to them and say, what do you guys think? Like, hey, I did this for your company, what do you think? And sometimes you run the risk of offending someone. It's like, hey, my grandmother did this and she passed away, and it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna kill myself now. Or my wife did it, and you don't want to offend their wife,
Yeah.
but like, you shoot your shot. Like, who the hell cares? Because if you don't get their business, then you move on. Good for them. They can keep their stuff, and I'll go to the next business and try to not offend them.
Sure.
Is there any design thing that you see out in the world that you just is a big pet peeve and you start cringing every time you see it?
Or that you're obsessed with?
Every time I go through East Aurora.
Oh, really?
Oh man,
And it's required there.
yeah, it's so weird. We fight about it all the time. Like in the design community, like there's some people, like our mutual friend that we play frisbee golf with. He loves it. Loves
Really?
the East Aurora has a branded font that every business has to use regardless.
Is it an East Aurora specific font, or is it a font that they're just like, we want this throughout the
It's
whole town?
it's related to the Roycroft family.
Oh, okay.
So it's like an I can't remember the
Yeah.
exact like time period, but it's a font for the Roycroft family that everyone has to use across every business, no matter what the hell you are in East Aurora. If you're a strip club or you're a bar or you're like a bakery,
Is that just in
everyone's
the
got to
village?
use the Roycroft strip club font.
Because we don't. My employer doesn't use that font, and they're in East Aurora.
Oh, they probably get fined.
Probably, but that's fascinating because you do see it literally
Yeah,
everywhere.
It is a required, like it's a law. That's weird. So you don't like it?
Yeah, some guy in like a horse-drawn carriage just comes by and cuts your tires if you don't do it.
Probably.
Do other towns have that? For some reason, I thought Williamsville had something similar, where it has to be.
No, you just have to pay an exorbitant amount in property tax, and then you have to have a bill in your family. I think those are the prereqs to live in
In
Williamsville.
Cheektowaga, if you don't write in, like, if you don't have a meth head and just like spray paint on your business.
Yes, that or a pink flamingo.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that something in Williamsville or something had the same, or Clarence or something like that. I don't get service out here. Whatever, phone's gonna die anyway. But
You don't need it.
Cool story there.
It's really weird.
Your entire inner circle's here, and then your fiance is like 5 feet that way.
Actually, she's working tonight, so she's not here.
Whatever. She's out
Anyway.
there grinding.
Yeah.
She's having everyone just across the United States just super fit while we're just slamming beers.
Yeah,
and-
hell yeah.
Yeah, everything's
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite label that you've made? Do you have one that sticks out at you
Oh my
that you just
God.
love?
Okay, so it's not the best design label I've ever done, but the Circle the Wagons one went absolutely nuts.
That one's really cool.
That one, I thought it was cool. It's just based off of the Bills away jerseys and the Color Rush jerseys, and I don't know how Resurgence does it, but they brew something once and they send it to market, and it was the Bill season's however many months, they ran out of it. I think they had to rebrew it 8 different times, which was unheard
Wow.
of, and they sold so much of it. And then it was so cool. That's like what we kind of talked about a minute ago. It's so cool when people tag Resurgence in their Instagram stories of them drinking that on game days, and I'm like, that's my can. Like, and I'll just sit there on the couch. We were watching all pandemic. I watched every Bills game with my dad, and I would just sit there and I would just tap through the story and show my dad and be like, that's my can. That's my can. And that was like a super like proud papa moment. I'm trying to think what other cool cans I've done. There's been just a bunch of fun ones that I've done. Like anything that I get to do that's different, I can't even think.
Do you feel? How do I phrase this? Like,
Here we
would
go.
not happy putting your label on a can where the beer sucks. Like, the beer quality isn't good, because then you're kind of helping promote a beer that's not good. Not saying any local breweries have that, but when you buy a can, sometimes you buy it based off a label, and if you crack it open, you know that you'd hate it because it's not a good beer. Have you ever done that before?
Well, one, it's my name's not on it.
Right.
But I don't know. I got paid either way, so it doesn't matter. I mean, I think we had this conversation. I forget who I had this conversation with, but there's no bad beer really. There's just varying degrees of beer, because if you sit down with any of the people that brew in Buffalo, and they do that Beer Geeks where they can do a takeover and they will brew their own beer with a local brewery, and they come away with a new appreciation for beer and how much fucking work goes into it. And I think it's super interesting, because I didn't understand anything before I started working with these people, and it's like, it's so cool to me and so interesting. Like, each person is so prideful in their own business, and it's, I don't know, it makes me feel good that I get to be part of it. Like, I got to walk through Steelbound with Bill, and he got to show me his distillery and his brewery, and it's like Willy Wonka's fucking chocolate factory, and it's so cool. And just to see the smile on his face, it's just cool.
Yeah.
I think you're in the perfect city too, though. Just realistically, I couldn't name more than 3 beers that I don't necessarily am fanboying over, but they're also not bad. Like, I don't even know if our city produces bad beer. Same with food.
It's just beer types that you don't like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to your point, there's really no bad beer. It's tough to find one in the city. So for you to work with all these different people and then having that experience with the business owners, it just kind of adds to it. But then you can also kind of use their passion to develop the labels that are going to be used on their cans. Because you can kind of tie some of that energy into it, where you're like, okay, I know this person's personality. I know kind of like what I can and cannot get away with. Why don't we try this and then see if it sticks? And then more times than not, it does. But to the Circle the Wagons label, you had, is that the same label as the game-winning plays? Or is that a separate label?
That's the same one.
Same label, yeah. Where it's like X's and O's.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually game-winning plays. I made it all up, because we were trying to do it and it didn't work for the design. So
that's right. That's what happened.
That's your little backdoor secret thing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
There you go.
So I mean, you can't lose in that. During Bill season, releasing a Bill's branded can from Resurgent, like, everybody just fanboys and fangirls over Resurgent's beer. But yeah, that's so awesome.
And everybody, no pun intended, jumps on the bandwagon. Because I mean, it's
What else are you gonna do on a Sunday?
well, that, and it's seasonal, so everyone's doing it. Like, right now, I'm doing everyone's Bill's beer for this season.
Sure.
If you don't already have, like, Resurgence is already re-releasing Circle the Wagons. They don't need a new label. They already have that one from last year, and whoever designed it did a good job, because it fucking kicks ass.
Yeah.
But we have, new labels coming from every brewery, Bill's related.
With it being Bills related, do you have to talk to the Bills to get permission to use their logo or anything, or do you not use the logo?
No logos. Okay. As long as, I mean, you can keep the colors and keep the phrases. I think we ran into some issues, not like legal issues, but like we had to be careful with our Sabres beer, because we did almost identical can to Circle the Wagons for the Sabres season, which didn't go as well, because Sabres don't do as well as the Bills. That's another story. You just have to be careful about what's trademark, what's not, and try not to get sued.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with red, white, and blue, especially in this country.
True, yeah.
America.
That's right. That's right.
Do a lot of America for first line.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. So, kind of speaking on that, how was that transition from, like, Free Reign, Yay Buffalo, to Hard Knocks, like, Blue Line, and then American Pride, with, like, this backing of this kind of rah-rah but also hardcore vibe that they kind of give in their labels, where you hold it and you're like, damn, this is freedom. You know what I mean?
Theirs aren't like super friggin' hard nosed and like and whatever. Like,
they have the American Eagle literally sprawled out across their can. It's glorious.
it's fucking sick, and I get it.
Yeah. And when you hold it, you gain like 15 horsepower in your car.
Yeah. No, the dudes that run First Line are super cool. They are just like us. They are flying by the seat of their pants at any given moment. I love those guys. But they're also pretty open to stuff. Like they'll come at me with ideas. I get this. I just want to see their faces, but they'll text me and be like, Tommy, and then like 3 dots. Because they're just afraid of what I'm going to say back. Because I know that when followed by that Tommy text is going to be a weird idea that I'm going to have to kind of like talk them off the ledge a little bit.
Like what? What would they say?
I don't know. It's always like, can we have like an American eagle wrapped in a flag, flying a fighter jet, like covered in red, white, and blue paint.
I'm obsessed
like
with them.
with Trump like on one wing and like Obama on the other to like both people. I don't know. It's just like the crazy and like eagles, talons, wings, like as nipple tassels, like just like weird shit. That's what they want. And I'm like, all right, can we ease on the nipple tassels first? All right. I don't think it's needed. No one's going to notice it on the can. They're like, all right, that's important. We need that. But like, that's sort of how we, and or my favorite thing and the most stressful thing that I do, they'll say, we need a can and here's what we want to do. And I will say, okay. And I won't do that at all. And I'll just roll the dice. And send them something and be like, hope you like it. And then I'll turn my phone off and go cry for a little bit and then come back and be like, please God, please God, please God. And I don't know, 60% of the time they like it. And that's with everybody. I do that with everybody.
Yeah.
But like, your idea is not that great. I'm going to do something different.
Do you ever pass people off to somebody else? Like, I don't have time to do this, or maybe my style doesn't fit this right and I'm going to give it to someone else?
Not usually, because I like money more than I like happiness.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I love money. But hey, pandemics suck and everyone lost money. But there's an illustrator that I ran across during the pandemic that he is super cool and does really cool stuff. So every once in a while, if something is absolutely not my style, I'll send stuff to him. Or I've had the instance, there was another brewery that I forgot to mention that I no longer work with, but worked with for a long time, is 450 North in Indiana. They are crazy, and they do...
How did you come across them?
Breyer Brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dylan hit me up and said, hey, this brewery's looking for a designer. And I was like, okay. So I went through it was a crazy process. Like, I had to go through an interview process to start working with them. And I didn't understand the just vast amount of beer that they create and the impact that they have, but people here are obsessed with their beer.
Really?
Yeah, because I still see, like, I'll see posts, some of the like bottle shops and stuff that they'll have 450 North, and people are commenting, they're like, I'm going there right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like smoothie style beer, but it's like it's almost like a like Supreme is with like brand. It's like the Supreme of beer. Like, the beer might not be that great. I've never had it, so it could be amazing, but they
just have a cult following.
It's a cult following, and if you have the can, like, it's an Instagram flex.
Oh, okay.
So they would post, like, whenever they would drop, because they would drop like freaking 15 cans every 4 or 5 weeks, which was unbelievable.
Wow.
They dropped so many cans every so many weeks, and there would be a line from their like drop point, like, I don't know, like 100 cars lined up to get their stuff on drop day, which is, there's nobody here in Buffalo
right.
that
you become close.
You know what I mean? Like, people line up for froth.
Sure.
I'm sure there's other people like line up to get their beer here, but like,
people lined up at first line, but that was before their new equipment.
That was when they made beer in a bathtub, and like they only had like enough for like 6 4-packs.
Right.
But yeah, that was crazy. I had to split with my buddy, and actually a third person at some point, because there was just too many cans. I was like, I'm losing my mind. I can't do this. I'm gonna cry.
That's nuts.
So you met this new kid through the 450, and then you passed him something?
Yeah, he doesn't, I don't even know where the hell he lives. He lives somewhere else, but very rarely do I pass things. There was a long way to go to be like, no, I don't give any work away.
Right. So you've also done podcasts, like, just outside of ours. You've done other podcasts.
I was like, have I?
Yeah.
I forget constantly.
I know.
Somebody
really.
asked
I'm
me
like
at work,
reminding you everything.
Somebody asked me at work today. They're like, "Hey, did you do this logo?" I was like, "No. What are you talking about?" And I looked at it. I was like, "Yeah, I did that." Like, oh shit! Like, I just do too much shit that I'm like, my brain is like, "All right, throw in the trash bin. We're done.
Right.
Never gonna touch this again."
What other podcasts have you done? You were cheating on us, so we got to clarify.
I'm sorry.
No free shout-outs, by the way, on this
do you
other
even know?
podcast. No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking questions, Derek.
Oh, so I don't watch your videos on YouTube and you don't follow my Instagram page.
I do follow your Instagram page.
Clearly not.
The issue is I follow like 980 of them, so they get buried.
Well,
He's making excuses.
There's algorithms.
At least Tom says, no, I don't watch it.
yeah, I'm straight up.
I follow for support.
I'm not a
It's not my
liar.
fault the algorithm doesn't put you on top.
Ouch.
We're gonna have to talk to some people over
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah. Talk to big tech.
But oh yeah, podcast.
Yes.
Had
What other
I had
podcasts have
a
you been
mild
on?
stroke there. What the hell's the name? Oh, After the Snap Pod. That was crazy. That's through First Line.
Yep.
The boys at First Line introduced me to Reed Ferguson
Yep.
from the Bills and his brother Blake. They started a podcast.
You worked with them on their logo.
Yep, I work with them on
Okay.
their logo and like some little social graphics and stuff. So that was like a super fun project. Like I would have never been like, I'm gonna work with a Buffalo Bill. Like that was fun. I mean, that was just like, hey, we need you to just draw the two of us and do cool type around it. So I didn't do anything groundbreaking, but it was cool.
Well, Reed, if you ever need content, let us know, because we
Yeah.
would love to be on your pod since you are on ours.
And we don't
No big deal.
know anything about football, so we wouldn't be very good guests on his.
What are you talking about?
We know stuff.
Talking about long snapping, you and I have no idea about long snapping.
Correct about the position, but we
all.
know enough about the game to have an entertaining conversation with them.
Debatable. But so that's a pretty cool opportunity.
Who else, Tom?
Who
No,
else?
that's it.
I was gonna
That's
say
it.
that's probably it.
I think, right? You were going to do First Lines, and that's the one that you passed to the dude. I see you 17
Yes.
times a week, so I know too much more about your life, probably more than you do.
Yeah, I'll see you in 6 hours.
So yeah, you were going to do First Lines, then you pass it off. But you also done different graphics for First Line too, like Shane's or Mikey's wedding. One of them you did a graphic for a can for the thingamajig.
That was Shane's proposal to Mikey to be his best man.
Oh right, yeah.
That was cool. And then I did all of Shane's like groomsmen gifts. He did a special can for them, and then Mikey wanted me to draw him for his wedding, and that's when I passed it back off to the illustrator guy. I was like, I can't, which ended up being also funny. Just the first draft looked like Mikey hadn't slept in 11 days. It
Which
was
is
cool.
fair, because they barely slept to get
Yeah.
First Line off the ground.
They still don't. They're just
I know.
crazy psycho dudes. They're still just asking me. They're like, "What do you think about this project?" And I'm like, "Do you guys just have infinite money and you just never need to sleep?" And they're like, "Yep."
Would you ever want to learn how to brew beer?
I think it'd be cool. I'm just not like anything that's. I feel like brewing is like baking, and like you need to be exact with like your measurements and stuff. I have no fucking clue because it might not be. You
Yeah.
might just be like a little bit of dash of this and a dash of that. Because that's how I cook. I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of salt and a little bit of whatever.
A lot of bakers will tell you you don't have to be exact when baking. Cooking, on the other hand, you do have to be exact.
Bullshit.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying.
Have you ever cooked in your life?
Yeah. So now
You
that's
have not.
three. That's three things:
I'm gonna
cooking,
talk to
baking, and
Colleen
brewing. You don't
after
have to be
this is over.
exact. Okay. In my household, Colleen 1,000% is the cook.
Okay, clearly.
However,
I could have told you that.
I can cook. I've cooked her some meals. We'll talk afterwards.
We'll taste. All right, we're gonna do a chopped episode, part 2.
That'd be fun.
Mike in the kitchen, me and you judging,
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, with all the fire extinguishers.
and then all of us get food poisoning and die.
Yeah.
What could we do a TV show of, like the three of us?
Existing. That would be, reality TV would be enough content for a TV series.
Asking Tom questions that no one in the entire world cares about.
That's true.
That's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that like a direct insult? Love it.
It's a self burn.
It's funny. So you would learn how to brew.
Yeah.
Would you ever is this whole thing that you're building right now in works to do this like full time and to like leave the 9 to 5 grind, or do you feel like you always are a person that wants that 9 to 5 structure and
Well-
to do this on the side?
Health insurance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you ever heard of the 401k? Yeah, health insurance 401k. Yeah, I don't know. Nicole's a teacher, so health insurance is cool when you're married to a teacher. But
Yeah, right.
no, I love my team. That's the thing. Like no matter where I go, I love having a design team. Like even if it's one other person to bounce stuff off of, because I get lonely, I get bored. Like during the pandemic, I never was someone that like was depressed. I got like real down because I would just be by myself with my 2 cats and just like drawing stuff. And it's like, okay, you would think that me sitting there drawing a leprechaun, like watching Netflix, would be happy, but it was like kind of bummed because I would be by myself for 8 to 12 hours a day with nowhere to go and nothing to do. So like I love my team, and there's like people to talk to and bounce things off of, and like I have a pretty good community of other designers that I can, if I'm in a rut, I can send things to someone and say, hey, like, what do you think about this? Like, what I did here, it's close, but it needs some love. What do you think? And they'll send back like their honest opinions, because we do it together all the time, and that's like the best thing that I've formed.
So long term, do you ever think you would get to a point where you would have like an apprentice?
I think about it all the time. Yeah, like I feel like if it took another step, I might have to have like another person as like a
Just to help.
just to pitch in.
There was
Yeah.
a point during the pandemic that you were almost at that point. Like, if your full-time job never came back, I feel like you would have took that leap because you were so busy. And you made good money off of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I'm still doing, like, the workload's a little less than it was, because people were so, like, when restaurants still weren't open, that was, like, the main source of revenue for a lot of these breweries was canning, because you couldn't,
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
yeah, a lot of these places you're not going to First Line for takeout.
Right.
Because they didn't have any food options at the time, so their only source of income for their brewery was canning. But now they have food, they have their tap room, and so like they're not necessarily so focused on canning for revenue purposes. So it's not as busy now, but I don't know. It would have to take like a huge step for me to really, really think about adding another human.
Would you want to be in charge of somebody?
Oh my god, that would be so funny. You sitting there, hello human, welcome to work.
I don't know. Like I don't know. I worked with Colin for a while on like he helped me.
That's true.
He helped me so much with the 450 stuff, and like we like
Are you allowed to say that? They won't watch this.
they listen. What are they going to fire me?
we can bleep it. It's not a big deal.
Don't bleep it. Who cares?
All right, go Bills.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he helped me so much with like my overflow of when I physically couldn't do 15 cans.
I mean, if you gave the final approval,
yeah,
incto facto, I'm your boss.
yeah,
That's how it works.
yeah. So I mean, it was just like a back and forth where we would say like, hey, like this fits more with what they're doing. Like I don't know. I'm not like a crazy like hard ass when it comes to like it has to be this way or not. Like design's subjective. Like I may not think it's amazing, but somebody else might. So who gives a shit? What's in the beer? I don't care.
Right.
It's pretty cool. So we have to talk about what we have in front of us here. You're not drinking it because you're not a whiskey person, but we finally have a sample of our
Can I try
3-quart.
it?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to try it?
Why not? Let me make a face for the. Oh God! I
It's
hope
fine.
it spills.
We're married, basically. So we worked with 3-quart. Yeah, I know it's hot
Small
too.
sip, dude.
Yeah.
It's 118.2 proof.
I don't know what that means.
It's very.
So your beer right now is what, 5%?
Whew.
Yeah, it's hot.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's hot. So your beer is like 5%.
6.5. What's
6.5?
an IPA, bro?
Yeah, this is help me with the math. 59.1%.
Holy God!
Yeah, it's hot.
That's a thickum. Oh my.
But yeah, so we
It's good
finally.
for you.
I like how
Yeah.
it tastes though.
Yeah, right.
So
Isn't it
as
good?
as someone who doesn't drink that ever, it's burning.
I'm dying.
It's burning, but it's like it has like a pleasant taste
Yeah.
like on the front.
Yeah, well, good. That's good to hear.
What are you tasting? Or, tasting notes round 2. What are you tasting on this?
Caramel,
Wait,
and?
nice. Look at that, dude.
And
sadness. I don't know.
No, caramel is a really good call.
yeah, caramel's basically up front loading your mouth and palate, and you need a chaser, and that's okay. Everything is fine. It again 118.2
Caramel
proof.
and watermelon might not be bad.
Caramel watermelon.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a wild.
So yeah, this is our bottle that we worked with 3-quart to make our single barrel on. We are waiting on the actual product to be ready in stores because they are actually experiencing a bottle shortage right now. So we're experiencing kind of a setback, but we're looking at around an end of October time frame, so it's coming, but we do have the sample here. It's very good. If you want to hear more about it, we're going to be doing a Wednesday whiskey review coming up, and when you pick up the bottle that Tom designed the label for, which we're going to talk about now, there's going to be a QR code on the back where you can scan it, and that will bring you to our Wednesday whiskey review of the actual whiskey itself. So it's going to be a really cool experience. Tom designed the label, and I want to hear a little bit more about this label, but he's taking his headphones off, and he's done for the day.
Getting another beer.
Oh, get another beer. Nailed
Good
it.
for you, man.
I
Crush
like that. So when you created our label, one, you asked me some questions I had no idea the answers for. And
I don't know what those
the
questions
answers
were. What refreshed
Die
me?
cut label.
Oh, that was in
number thing. You asked me about verbiage that I just looked at the label and I still didn't provide you with verbiage, so it still has a lorem ipsum on there.
What a failure.
I know, really. But when you were creating this, was it different than creating a beer from like a, I have to kind of do something different, or was it more just the style difference between Mike and I and Resurgence?
Very quickly,
Jesus, you're
I just want to say,
all with the double questions today.
when it's not a double question, it's a point, so that you understand somewhat of the back end that Derek and I go through. Derek will say something to you, you will reciprocate with a question of like A, B, and C. Derek will ask me, because you basically put the ball back in our court, and everything starts on fire. Because I'm like, oh, hold on, like, what do you mean? And then it boils down to, like, just give me your opinion on A, B, and C. And I'm like, okay, A, B, and C. And then send it back, and then we send it to you. And then for some odd reason, it works out. So I don't understand how it goes from this across the table to what you produce. We're totally fine with it, because we've had... Are you going to make it? You're having a conniption with your glasses and headphones.
Oh.
So we worked with a lot of our like close circle. So like the BHH housewives, mega fan, and then, you know, like close friends and family. And we're like, what do you think of this label? Do you like it?
Mega fan?
Yeah, mega fan. You'll meet him on Saturday.
I'm excited. I'm
And
so excited.
He's from Long Island.
The Long Island?
Long Island, the longest island, and every bit of feedback that we've came back with from other people, not us, is that's really like elegant. It's classy. It's beautiful. Those are like legitimately the first three comments
I know
that
you're
people
talking
say.
about me, but what about the label?
Well, you know, that label will work. That's nice, but yeah. So it's honestly really cool about how this whole thing developed. But were you like 9 beers in, or? Like, how did this whole thing come about? Because the color scheme fits, and then it just... There's a lot of nice, like, small touches that people don't realize that are in there until they get the physical bottle.
It's funny, because I'd have to look at it, because I don't remember what small touches are in there. It's just funny, like, when you guys are like...
This is our life, so...
Derek reaches out to you, and then you reach back out with a question. I'm like, because you guys reach out to me like I have any fucking clue what I'm talking about.
True.
I'm figuring shit out just at the same point everyone else is. You know what I mean? Like, I have no clue. I am doing the best that I can.
Yeah, but you're design sarcasm, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can fake it for the most part. But when I'm asking a question, it's like, okay, like, thanks for the start to this, but, like,
Yeah.
I need you to answer these 3 questions before I can, like, mildly begin designing. Like, what do you want it to look like? What is it supposed to say? Like, what has to go on this label? Those were all the questions I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, what?
So can I be honest with you really quick? This is one of my internal struggles that I have with you. Because when you and I first talked, you said, I don't like it when people tell me what to do, because I'm the designer. Give me the creative freedom to do it. So I'll tell you something like, Tom, can you design this? And then you come back with me, what do you want on it? I'm like, this isn't the script. I need to let you do it. Do it.
I know.
You're going to yell at me before we start lifting in the morning.
I know, but I can move the cursor around on the shit and make it look pretty, but if
True.
I don't know what the hell it's supposed to say, you're going to get back a graphic that says, like, get hammered.
Okay, so basically, we need to give you a speedometer and you'll move the needle.
Basically, like,
Okay.
we need a label. Here's the specs from the place. It needs to be, you know, this tall by this wide, and it needs to have these 5 things that it has to say on
Yeah.
it. then run wild.
Okay.
That's what I need.
We gotta
You guys
get
are
to
like,
that
we
point.
need a label. I'm like, for what? Are you guys partnering with L'Oreal? Are you making a shampoo?
Yeah,
like,
right, yeah.
what are we talking about here, boys? Like, that's where I'm at. That's what Derek's like. Put you said you just to make the thing.
So when you were creating our label, you've never done a whiskey before. So when you were designing it and you came up with this like old timey,
What made you think that I didn't do a whiskey before? Like when I took a sip and I was like,
when you were designing like the old timey, did you judge it based off of what you think Mike and I would like, or did you kind of go off the vibe of it being a whiskey? Like, what was your thought process in designing that? We'll throw up a picture so everybody can see it if you haven't seen it already.
I just like almost glanced. I was like, where's the picture? Oh, there's a picture there? I didn't see it. I don't know. I did a little bit of research in like what cool whiskey labels are about, because I do that sometimes if there's like a new project that I have some time to do some research on. I'll see what the competition is and like, okay, how can I fit in but also like stand out and be cool? So I did that with you guys and was just trying to get like, I know that you guys traditionally like some like older style design,
Classy.
classy. I love like antique label art. The light went out.
Yeah.
Sure did. This is our nightmare.
It's cool. I wish it was a clapper.
Yeah, really, just turn
I like old like antique label art, so like that's some of the inspiration I found in it. And then I just kind of went nuts. It's like my design style, if I have one, is cool type and fine detail. So I try to carry that across everything that I do. So in yours, it was like, okay, let's take the font that we've already used on all of your stuff for some brand consistency. And Mike's like, what font? Oh, that font. Take that font, jam it in there, and then
what is this? It's actually called Irish whiskey, right?
I believe so, yeah.
That's amazing.
Did you know about that when you chose it, or did you choose it because it was called whiskey?
I just thought it was cool.
Okay, that's sweet.
I don't
That's
know.
a really
I
cool
think
convenient.
I looked through them and I was like, okay, like these are the fonts that I have.
Yeah.
It's a whiskey font, and like that
That's
makes
sweet.
sense. So, it looked cool, and then I combined it with some other like illustration elements, and it all kind of tied in. And then it was just a matter of, all right, now we have to fit all the information on there, the extra little details and things that legally we have to put on there.
Which is cool because it does say drink responsibly, be a good person, and don't litter.
So that's one of the main points that I wanted to touch on our label, which we pre-sold like 80 out of the 120 available, which is insane to think about, because now that remaining bottle amount is going to go towards kind of like random walk-ins that want to try it, which just enhances the entire
Was it gonna go? It's gonna go
aspect of
distribution
it.
to stores.
Just Addie's.
just one store.
Just Addie's.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So having the buffalo theme behind the label, I think, is going to be one of the largest selling points to the label. And I love how you incorporated like Buffalo, New York in the top left and right in a very smaller font. Same font, but like small little details all the way down the label, and then Buffalo Happy Hour, and then you incorporated our taglines of drink responsibly, be a good person, don't litter, our logo, and then the QR code is like fascinating because I don't even understand how that works. Obviously, I get it. You scan it with your camera, and then it pulls up a link to Safari, and you're like, what is this? And then you like watch the clip of us reviewing our own whiskey, which is just mind-blowing. But the fact that you're able to do that, honestly, first of all, thank you for everything you've done for us so far. Just because without you, I mean, we literally wouldn't even have a brand.
Yeah.
So thank you. But it's really cool for
Derek
all
could
of
have
this.
done it.
Yeah, he could have.
No, I couldn't.
Derek's
He
like
could've.
a quarter designer now.
He could have
I spent like two days whole just like teaching
on Photoshop.
teaching Derek how to Photoshop and Illustrator, and I like started to get like off the rails. I was like, what if we teach him InDesign? I was like, no.
Which was wild. So
Dial
he,
back.
so he reached out to me and he's like, all right, so I know it's like early in the morning or whatever, but just want to let you know, last night, we went over Photoshop for like 2.5 hours, and the stuff I learned, it's ridiculous. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he just goes into all these things, and I was like, Derek, you lost me as soon as you started speaking.
I realized really quickly that I would be absolutely the worst college professor, because like my thought process, I was like, what if we do this, and then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna go back here, and we're gonna, it's like, okay, like I would have to like literally like write down like a curriculum, like now I understand why that would make sense and why my
Right.
wife should make way more money than she does as a
Oh, yeah.
teacher.
100%.
and why I make more than I should as a graphic designer
Absolutely.
that just sits there and just draws shit. But anyway, yeah, just teaching Derek just basic fundamental Photoshop and Illustrator to like just take the podcast stuff and make it better and not so like the one graphic designer that'll look at your stuff, every 46 episodes make me throw up my mouth.
Yeah. Well, it's not even like what you were telling me is, dude, you're being way too, like, you're putting way too much on this graphic here. Like, simplicity sometimes is better. And I think is that common with people that are coming into the industry for, like, starting out in graphic designers, is they feel like they have to put too much on to draw people's attention, when in reality it's kind of doing the opposite?
Yeah, I mean, people in general, like, I mean, if anyone's creating anything, they feel the innate need to fill every last bit of space that they have.
Right.
So that's what you were doing. You were just like, all right, well, we have the open space. We got to fill it with something. And you don't need to do that because people, for the most part, have a very, very short time, or attention span. So it's like, all right, let's make this easily accessible for them visually, so they can read the quick bullet points. Here's what this is. Here's what it's about, and like a little photo to go along with it. And
Yeah, well,
they
like
can carry on with their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially where everyone's at right now. You scroll through Instagram and you need to catch their attention very quickly, and if you don't, you're gonna
lost.
get lost. Absolutely.
I honestly feel, not to cut you off, I literally feel like you are designing something so that someone at a red light understands everything you're trying to put out, and then they can move on, and then they're on the same page as you.
And we're constantly fighting in everything, because a lot of businesses want to put their entire life story in an Instagram post graphic. And it's like, okay, I could technically put like friggin' 4 paragraphs of text in this actual image post, but should you?
Right.
Like that's what you're going to argue with for your whole life.
It's the same thing with like PowerPoints when you're doing presentations. If you throw a big paragraph up on the screen, no one's going to
Everyone
read it.
Immediately, their brain turns right off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
they would rather have somebody tell them. And what I was prioritizing was, for some reason, I was prioritizing our faces. And it's like nobody scrolls through, sees our face, and says, I need to watch this video. And that's what you told me. It's like, dude, why are you putting your face so much in this screen? Make it like half of that, and then put some interesting titles so people can actually click on it.
Yeah, because if they scroll through and they say like they're a really big fan of Resurgence, they're a really big fan of someone else, they're gonna be like, oh shit, Resurgence.
All right.
So, from your not to like stroke our own egos, but do you feel like in the last 2.5 years, we've done a total 180 from where we started to now?
I told you, he doesn't pay attention to us.
I pay attention. I follow all the things on social. I look at all the stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
know.
It pops up on my YouTube. I just don't click on it.
Rude.
Dude, it's fantasy football season. I got things to watch.
Yeah, now we've been at this 2.5 years, brother.
Fantasy football season is most of my season.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Mostly since I made corrections to Derek, everything's gotten way better. But you guys do a good job.
Okay.
And we're consistent with it, which I think helps.
That's all I care about. I'm just like, a lot of it is because we're realistically, the three of us are perfectionists, and we take a lot of pride in our work, and we try to make it worthwhile, so we're not totally wasting our time, especially if we're not getting paid. Yeah. We're not getting paid, so I just, I want to make
Please,
sure,
for
like,
the love of God, just give them, send them something.
just subscribe. But yeah, it's free. We basically just want the reassurance, because we weren't loved enough as children to know that what we're doing is worth it. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, anything else that we didn't touch on? We're already over an hour.
Are we?
This kinda
Are we
flew
really?
by. Oh, yeah, dude. We're at an hour and 10 minutes.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen time in months because you hoard them on me,
true, yeah.
but that's fine.
My watch just told me it's time to stand up. Shut up.
Well, because I see him 14 times a week.
Yeah.
What do you do outside of graphic design?
Hang out with him.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll see you in 6 hours when we're going to be wearing the same exact friggin' t-shirt to the fucking gym.
Yeah, did you hear about that too? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I sent you the
and I
picture
saw
of it.
his story because I follow him on social media.
There you go.
You were underneath the bar on the squat rack.
Oh, yeah. We were doing squats in our first line
Proof.
t-shirt.
Proof.
I just rolled through the parking lot, and I step out of my car. I am 100% still asleep. And Derek peeks his little head out, and the look on his face, I was like, what happened? He's like, he steps out, he's wearing the same shirt. I was like, oh my God. Everyone's going to think we're the sweatiest, least athletic team Like, why are you guys wearing the same shirt? Because everyone at that gym thought, they're like, man, those guys come, there's looks like nothing's happened. Why are they wearing the same shirt?
There's no progress.
Yeah,
They actually went down in weight on the bar.
Yeah, it's like, why is that guy shaking?
Do you guys have a 35-pound squat bar instead of a 45-pound squat bar? Because we're actually getting worse.
Yeah, Derek finally just stopped whispering to
No,
the
dude, we just do the Smith machine now. We're at 0. He's like, okay, I gotta stand down. Yeah, for the longest time, I was doing this contactless check-in, which I don't understand why they have contactless check-in, first of all, if they're not going to use it. It's this thing where you press the button, it'll tell you that you're here, but you still have to talk to somebody behind the counter or else they'll stop you.
And I guess Derek is the only person in Western New York that uses it because every person that was running the counter at LA Fitness would never, Sporta, sorry.
Yeah, it's Sporta. Get it right.
Was running the counter would have no idea what he was doing and why he was like in the cube behind them, and he would just be like, I'm here. So I'd be like, dude, like, he was like, Derek Curso, I'm here. They'd have no idea what was happening. I was like, dude, just scan the QR code and just walk by.
QR
so
code again.
Yeah. So I would just every day when we leave, I'm like, just tell him, I'm leaving. I'm like, it's okay, I'm leaving.
So it's contactless, but you still have to physically touch a button. So
Well,
there's
no,
contact.
so it used to be contactless, so I check in and then I can walk past them and not say anything.
In
But
theory,
2
that's how it's
times-
supposed to work.
Yeah, 2 times in a row, I walk past them and they go, are you going to check in? I'm like, yeah, I did contactless check-in. That's the whole point of contactless check-in.
That's not even the worst part. The worst part was when he would just stand there and wait for them to acknowledge that
Because I was sick of being
checked
yelled
in.
at.
He checked in, and they would just look at him, and it would just be like this really painful, awkward, like,
Yeah.
he's waiting for them to know what the hell's going on. They're waiting for him to be like, why are you in my cube, sir? And then I'm sitting there like, just, God.
But like when we
How
go to
else
the
do you
gym
check
now,
in? Don't you have like a membership badge on your keys?
I have like a little top
I
tab.
don't.
that you scan?
I don't. They only had me download the app, so I can't go in without my phone.
So he stands there awkwardly with his Derek face
Yeah.
when he's waiting?
And he just goes,
Or-
You know what I'm
No.
talking about? That Derek waiting face?
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm here. Yeah.
But now Tom and I are there at the gym and we're laughing during our workout and we're disturbing everybody because he fell down on the bench the one day when
I
he was trying
dropped
to bring
weights on my chest. We are the worst. Nothing's being accomplished. We are trying our best. We are absolutely trying our best. But
You're
it is-
there.
Yeah, we're there.
Sadly, every day we're just like, why are we here? Yes.
Okay. So anything that you've been working on that we haven't talked about?
That you're able to talk about?
I don't know. Big things coming from all the Buffalo breweries. Like, I mean, Resurgence has big stuff coming. Sato is coming out with some new stuff. Steelbound is got some new stuff coming. I just did some cool cans with them. First Line's gonna start canning again. West Shore's got an expansion coming eventually.
We still got to sit down with him.
Everybody's doing cool stuff in the craft beer industry in Buffalo, and I'm just along for the ride, hoping for the best, and just trying to do as much cool stuff as I can.
Actually, I do want to talk about one more thing. With the collaborations that you've been doing, there was one called the Ballpark Series for the Toronto Blue
was
Jays.
cool.
Yeah, can you talk about that? Because that was sick.
That was really cool. I don't remember exactly how it came to me because someone was doing it previously, but through Resurgence, there's a collaboration that goes every year through the Bisons, but because the Blue Jays were here this year, it ended up going through them. That was Resurgence, CBW, Big Ditch, and
Flying Bison.
Flying Bison, thank you. And everyone got the same design can, just 4 different color schemes, and all of the color schemes are based off of historic Bison's uniforms, based on who they were the farm team for. So all the each beer came out with their own can and their own beer unique for that, unique for their brewery, and that got released to I think just consumers and the Ballpark originally, and now I've seen it a couple other places since then. But it was just cool. People were amped about the Blue Jays being here. Professional baseball, that was so cool. And then seeing the same thing, it was like the Bills, Circle the Wagons beers. People's at the ballpark, drinking those beers, and it just was really cool.
Yeah. You can see it on TV when they go to the crowd, and you can see them drinking those beers. Like, that's sick.
And there was a bunch of other, like, I think Resurgence had like a pretty good deal with the ballpark. So like a lot of the other things that I designed were in the ballpark available too. So people that I know that I would see on Instagram, they're posting like my stuff. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is so freaking cool.
So I don't know if you can, I don't even know the answer to this, and I don't know if you can say anything, but are there other initiatives in the future that involve these different breweries coming together for something like this ballpark series? Like, is there going to be something similar to that coming down the road that you're working on, or no?
Nothing that I know of. The only thing that's cool is, and somewhat related, is the Buffalo News series cans that also tied in with the Blue Jays being in Buffalo. So that was the Big League Summer can that just dropped, like, I don't know, a month ago. And that was a collaboration between the Resurgence and the Buffalo News, where they did an exclusive story and an exclusive can. And I worked with the Buffalo News team, and they did a super, super cool drop where they did unique displays in all of consumer stores, where they look like old newspaper stands where you had to put the quarter in, and you got your beer. It was so cool. So they did such a good job on marketing it, and it was incredible to see, because I didn't know until after it was released, like, all the initiative that they had put into it. So there are some more that I can't talk about yet, but there are some more coming down, some more collaborations that are just, they're cool, and they're going to work with more stories. It's called Stories of Resurgence, where it's like Buffalo's back on the up and up, and that's what they're focusing on.
That's really sick. That has to be cool to be working on that. Do you sign like NDAs and stuff, or are you not at that level?
I think maybe one. I mean,
you just tell them.
I just promise I'll be good.
I think a lot of it is just kind of trust between two parties, where it's understood not to say anything.
Yeah, I reached out to everyone. I was like, hey, I'm going on a podcast. Like, what should I shut up about? And I know for the most part, like, what I'm not allowed to say and what I'm allowed to say, and it's just like, the things that haven't been announced yet. Like, but everyone has been super nice to me, and most of the time they're like, just say what we want to say.
Yeah.
Resurgence is like, we don't care.
It's amazing.
That's Resurgence in general.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Tom, thank you for everything that you've done for us so far. Thank you for being on again for round 2. I'm sure we'll do round 3 again in the future at some point, maybe the next year.
Yeah,
maybe this will just be a
200th episode.
Yeah, there we go. So thank you again for everything. Do you want to say anything else, or are you good?
No, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Seriously, thank you. Go check him out on Instagram, Design and Sarcasm. If you do have the need to get a logo done, he won't turn down money, but he's really busy, so give him some lead time.
Yeah, make sure it's worth it.
You have your own website too, where people can submit their stuff, right?
Yeah, it's CavanaghDesign.com.
Can you spell it?
CAVANAGH design.com, and then Design and Sarcasm is the Instagram and the easiest way to get hold of me.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. We will see you next interview. Tom, thank you very much again. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Of course, man.